Hi, I'm Julia, and today I'll be exploring the course Politics, Policy Making, and Accountability in International Arenas for Development course. This course is special because of its simulation game designed by the professors right here in Wageningen. And right now the students are in their third period, so let's go find out what it's all about.
Symmetry and Transparency Register will be the symmetry and law that obliges civil society organizations and private sector companies to make public the details of their business activities and financial records in Symmetria.
Dear chairs, dear delegates and representatives, thank you for inviting us and thank you all for being here. Provides a long-term viable and sustainable living environment for the Sumerian people.
Otto, would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about where you got the idea for this course?
Yeah, I'm working at the Public Administration and Policy Group, and I'm contributing to the Master of International Development. We developed a new specialization, very interesting, politics and governance of development, 2 years ago, and then I was asked to develop this course anew. It's about international arenas and the negotiations in these international arenas, and for that reason I have developed a simulation game. Why a simulation? It is through simulation and through acting as if you're a negotiator that you learn most. And not only that, the simulation also helps to use and to process theoretical concepts. So the game is not standing on its own, but connected to the theoretical insights we use. And it's not just a game, as I said, it is very close to realities today. And every round, every negotiation, the students work with theoretical concepts. So the connection between, say, theory and negotiation in international arenas is very close.
I'm here with Sophie, who's going to tell us a little bit more about herself and the course.
Yeah, so I'm Sophie, 24 years old, and I just started this Master's in International Development.
This course has a simulation game, but is that the entire course, or are there other parts?
So there are other parts. The simulation game, I think, for your grade, it's about 35%, something like that. So that kind of gives you an indication of how much time you should spend on the simulation game compared to other parts. Another part is that you have to write an assignment after every simulation game, reflecting on the game and what happened using the literature that we used. And at the end, which is next week, we have to write an essay. And it's an essay of 3,000 words, and you basically use one of the concepts to elaborate on a real life event or a certain political arena. So
nice. Now I'm with Tom after that exciting course. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your role.
Yes, my name is Tom, and my role was actually to be part of the Red Moon movement. So the negotiations that we just saw took place in a non-existing country, which is called Sumatra. It's between Ethiopia and Egypt. And in that country, my organization, the Red Moon movement, is a really nationalistic Islamic organization. And we really try to put these nationalist values into play when we negotiate. We're also really strongly aligned with the Sumatraan government, of which Sophie is part. So that made it really interesting for me actually to be part of these negotiations, because in some ways I also had to be the bad guy, which was really interesting because it almost contradicts my own values, for example. So I had to put a lot of effort into talk about human rights, but then the other way around, and that made for me the negotiations really interesting.
And it was very difficult to get into your role because, you know, we were like, how are we going to do this? We're not dictators. So it was, yeah, that was definitely challenging, but it was also really fun to kind of be able to play with the literature in a way that I had never done before. Usually it's, you know, you're sitting in a classroom and you're listening to someone talk. Yeah.
So everyone really got into the roles then?
Everyone really got into their roles.
Exactly. So how do you start off the simulation negotiations?
So on the Thursday, everyone comes together in a classroom, and then the chair opens the negotiations, and each actor that has the right to speak is able to give an opening statement. So all the actors at the inner circle of the table, they provide their standpoint, or they try to explain their values, or their goes and no-goes in their opening statement, so that can really be useful. So I had about 2 minutes to express that.
That's not a lot of time.
It's not a lot of time, but each actor has the chance to do so. So there have to be time constraints, because otherwise people would just keep on talking.
Right, of course.
Chair, delegates, representatives of national governments, I am very happy that after 2 weeks of tough and hard negotiations, we are seeing some progress in our country. Famine, however, poses an immediate threat to my lovely country. My cousins and nieces in the north are struggling to stay alive. I try to be very passionate. So these opening statements really have a purpose, because sometimes 2 or 3 actors have prepared their opening statements together without other actors knowing. And then sometimes it really comes as a blow, because coalitions have been formed behind the scenes, and that is really interesting because sometimes you're really struck in your face with these opening statements, or with coalitions that hand in amendments which you didn't expect.
So there's a lot of on your feet thinking and rewriting as you go along, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it really having a good strategy is just really important.
Dear Chair and representatives, thank you for organizing this important meeting. On behalf of the World Food Programme, I want to give a short statement to emphasize the importance of our negotiations today.
I remember seeing that there was an inside circle and kind of an outside circle. What was the difference?
I think the largest difference is actually the right to speak. So everyone was sitting in the inside circle, where I sat, was able to speak and also to interrupt and to ask questions to the other actors in the inside circle. Whereas in the outside circle, some actors didn't have the right to speak. So that makes actually the negotiations way more interesting, because the people, for example, in the 3rd week, so the last negotiations, the United States of America, they sat in the outside circle. So they really had to use their bargaining power and use the informal meetings to push and to stress their own opinion and their own points to the actors in the inside circle, in order to get these kind of things across. But also, I really like this idea of international arenas and actually playing along with the debates and the negotiations. That's something I like, and I felt that through these 3 rounds of negotiations we had, I really got to learn more about how different parties and actors at the table play their part and play their role.
A sentence, or a part of a sentence, that would indicate that the good relations that we as a government have with the farmers from which we already buy food, or where we already have an agreement, that those networks are not broken or changed in any way, because we do have good relations with those farmers, but to only build on maybe parts where people are starving.
Exactly.
So that's sort of the opposite of I think. Clause 8.
And then how did the students shape the game?
Very much. It all depends on their input into the game. They get instructions on their role, but it's the way in which they negotiate that shapes the game. what I see is that students put a lot of energy in it. They like it. They like to apply the theoretical concepts into the game, and they also want to win the negotiations.
Yeah, it seemed like they were getting really into it when I was there with the different types of outfits and all the back and forth. It was really exciting to watch as well.
Yeah. I tell them not only to prepare on their position, which means they negotiate before they meet, but also to dress up. This is also a real life. I mean, one can impress by the dress. And so yes, students kind of fully prepare for the game, basically 2 days.
What would you say is the importance of having role play in addition to just learning the theoretical knowledge?
Well, it's through role play that you really learn. You not hear about concepts, but you actually use them in negotiations. And this has an enormous effect on the learning of students.
And then what would you say is the biggest benefit for students from this role-playing simulation game?
Well, unlike, say, traditional lecturing, where they read and maybe learn, this is about using theoretical insights. And the other thing is that they discover that to, say, win a negotiation, this is not that easy. It requires a lot of preparation. It requires a lot of social skills, and they notice that having a good idea doesn't mean that you will win the negotiations.
Well, that was a really interesting class to take part of. I felt like I was really getting invested in the outcome of the fictional country Sumitra. If you're interested in learning more about our other learning styles offered here at Wageningen, please check out the website or the other videos. That's it for now. Bye!